Hello there, my name is Cass and I am the founder and CEO of OurSecretLab. We are lucky enough to be here at the Four Seasons Resort Kuda Huraa in the Maldives, and it is my absolute pleasure to be speaking to the living Four Seasons legend that is Randy Shimabuku. We were going to do just a standard kind of interview as we would do, but Randy's asked that we mix it up, so we're going to start with questions from his side as opposed to mine, and then we're going to see where we go from there.
Very good. So welcome to Kuda Huraa, welcome to my office. And I guess the first question is something that you told me about a little bit earlier in the day. We were talking about something or another, but it came down to traditions. And you had told me about a tradition that you have started with your son. And I thought it was really provocative, actually. So if you can first share that tradition and then tell us a little bit more about how it came about and how you keep it going, and if you're tweaking it along the way.
We are
going to do it for the rest of your life, or
so what
other people will join, or.
So what happened was during COVID, he had to do homeschool learning, and so we were sat at our home office, and he would work in the morning from about sort of 8 in the morning to about midday, and then he'd be finished, and obviously we would share the music playlist between the two of us. So a lot of drum and bass from him, a lot of old school house music from me, but every now and then I'd throw in something old, and one of the classics one I love is a song by Bruce Hornsby and the Range called The Way It Is. So I played it to him and he was like, oh, it's ridiculous, it's really old, I have no interest. But then I think he put it on a playlist, was secretly listening to it, and then I caught him listening to it, and I was like, I thought you said this before. He goes, yeah, no, I've come around to it now, I really like it. And then just for some reason, I can't even remember why, he started to use it as his alarm for midday, which meant that revision was over. And it happened one day that I said, oh, I'm going to have a little break here also. So we got up and we hugged. And just in that moment, I was like, there's a lot of magic here. We've got Bruce Hornsby, the finish of the morning's work, and a show of affection between father and son. I said, I just literally turned to him and said, I've got a feeling that we are destined to do this for the rest of our lives. And so the next day, it happened. Day one, I put it in my Streaks app, so that you can, how long have you been working out, how long have you, and so I started as on 1, and as of today we were 462, and every single day without fail, within 60 to 120 seconds, I recognized that moment through Bruce Hornsby at midday, wherever he is. So if we're together overseas, the time changes. If he's in the UK and I'm here, it's now 5 hours behind, the 4-hour difference plus 1 hour resort time. And it's my job to ensure that I'm always on time. So that I call him. And I've left Zoom calls, I've left meetings. You and I were sat in prep for this interview, and without being rude, like there is nothing. That's the number one thing. So, Bish is already, he's just off camera, but there's been a couple of times where he's seen me just walk off a Zoom and gone, Kaz is going to be right back. Should take about 30 seconds. But it was born out of a very, very difficult time. It felt super organic and special and weird, which is like my favorite thing. And he loves it. There's only been once, I think, when he was really embarrassed when I insisted we do it. We were on a train together and it was packed. And I stood up and just held my arms out, and he was kind of like shamed, just looking at the floor for a minute. Then he stood up and he went, this is right that we acknowledge this.
Wow.
But apart from that, it's been a two-way street.
Wow.
So that is how it happened.
Oh my goodness. I feel bad to even ask this question, because as you were telling the story, I think it's beautiful. I wish I had done something like that with my 3 sons along the way. Maybe I'll start something like that. How do you keep it going? And at what point, who says, okay, that's enough? And how will it stay?
Super simple.
Will it stay authentic and say that I don't want to disappoint my dad, so I have to call him? And then is there
I have to call him first of all.
Okay.
So it's one-way street.
Okay.
There are times if 30 seconds goes by and he's in it or he's not in a class or anything else, I'll get a WhatsApp message from him or a voice note. Usually it's very short, or if I call him and he's in class, he'll say he's doing a creative media course.
Yeah.
So I'll say, I love you, I wish I was there to hug you in person, and he'll go, creative media, filming, work, and just say things like he's talking to someone about his class.
Okay.
But the other side of it is that we have a rule that if I've got there quickly, there's the opening piano, and there's about 30, 40 seconds before the drums come in. So if we start hugging, and we're still hugging when the drums comes in, he'll just whisper in my ear, this is weird now.
Okay.
So that's our
Wow.
benchmark.
Wow. That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, wow. Now I want to know more about OurSecretLab, and I'm not sure who our audience is, but I wanted to hear from you as the founder. What was your vision when you started, and is it the same now? And what have you done to nurture OurSecretLab in these last 10 years?
I mean,
What are the important things that you have done to nurture?
I mean, from my perspective, I think I wanted OurSecretLab to be, so the full title is OurSecretLab is the name of the company, and our tagline is where ideas get made. So when I generated that, the idea was that if somebody had an idea but couldn't make it, we would help them with that creatively. But also, if you wanted to achieve something like inspire your team or reward your team, and you didn't have an idea on how to do that, well, then we could also make that from scratch. And we would be able to insert ourselves, however the team got built, into that creative process, not prescriptively in, we want to incentivize people, we must send them to Aruba and that's it. Well, let's look at what you want, how much money do you have, how can we do it, and ask ourselves the question, just because it hasn't been done before, can we investigate the creative options? And we wanted to do that repeatedly, ideally for clients who we like. I think that's cake and eat it. I definitely don't feel like a businessman, despite the fact that I'm going to be 50 next year. I don't feel like I'm an adult yet. I still dress like Justin Bieber. So I wanted to build something that allowed me to surround myself with people that I really am passionate about and I really love, in service of people we really like, doing interesting creative work, repeat. Now, as it happened for many people, that includes events. So we're lucky enough to have always included it, here, because my vision from the beginning was that, like a great meal, what defines that extra bit, that Michelin star, might be a smear of pea puree, or garnish, or the fact that it's on slate. But in the end, the meal is the steak. And we felt that Four Seasons was the steak. Right? All the rest of it is important, but we felt that, taking clients' budget and putting the vast majority of it into a location or with an organization that felt the same way we did, which is, we know what we're doing, but let's consistently ask ourselves in those little micro moments, how can we reinvent service, not because we did it before, but because in this moment it felt right creatively to deliver something exceptional for somebody. And I think that's why when we first event we did in the Four Seasons Mauritius, we thought we want to do it just like they do it. And there was an example prior to that, I think, which already had it in my head. When we went to the Four Seasons in Whistler, there were 2 examples there. So a guy came, he was late, his luggage was missing at the airport. And he came to the desk, and the porter who was in charge of sort of greeting people and everything else, took $200 from the petty cash, took him in a large Escalade into town, and bought him some fresh chinos, a polo shirt, the rest of it, so that he could shower and be at the first meeting fresh. And there was no consideration of course we returned the money, but he knew that the company would support him in his moment of autonomous decision making in the pursuit of delivering excellence for the client. And that was one. And the other one was, I was talking to one of the people from the events team, and they were like, listen, it's an organic market on the Sunday. You need to just walk into town. It's really great, and you must go and get these cookies. But you must make me a promise that when you get 1 oatmeal and raisin and 1 chocolate chip, that before you eat them, you'll bring them back to me. And I was like, okay, sure, no problem. I love this kind of secret mystery work. So we walked in, and then I got them, came back, and I delivered them to him. And half an hour later, they came to the room with 2 different kinds of hot chocolate, 1 dark chocolate, 1 milk chocolate. 6 small bowls of chocolate shavings, little marshmallows, right?
Wow.
And then the cookies had been broken into bits and warmed, and were in a basket with a folded over napkin, handwritten note, and a blanket. So they go, if you want the best experience, open the door, we know it's cold, sit outside, but put the blanket so you're not cold, rest the tray on your lap, and then make sure that every little sip or every little moment when you dip something will be different. Enjoy. And I was just like, I mean, this is a ridiculous standard of delivery.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do the same.
Okay.
We want to do it just like that,
Okay.
you know?
I get it.
And there's one other story from where you're going to go that I think, to me, absolutely defines why we love the Four Seasons. So that's what I said is we have a relationship with them that's based upon our belief that a sense of humor should be the first thing that is through the door, not the last. So we were going, he's now left, I think his name was Hisashi Miyamoto, I think. He used to be in charge of group sales in Bali, and he moved back to Tokyo, I think, to be with his family.
Okay.
So he was our event. We were picking one of 3 locations. It's rare when we were on a site visit, and the choice was one of 3.
Yeah.
So I'd gone to the 2 others. I think Langkawi was one, Koh Samui was the other, and the Bali was the 3rd.
Yeah.
And we came, and about 2 days in, we were sat in breakfast, and he said, listen, you know, is there anything that you don't like or anything? I was like, listen, this place is amazing. We love it. You know, obviously, I think you just purchased Sundara, so you could be off property but still be on property. You can charge your drinks back to the room. They've got a 50-meter pool, all of that stuff. Yeah. But I then said, the only thing is that the music on here is on a really short loop. And I think that you're conditioning me so that I'm going to assassinate a politician when I go home. It's like that film with Donald Pleasance and Charles Brosnan where I'll get a call, you'll play the flute music from breakfast down the phone, and I will kill someone and it will be your responsibility. So then 2 days later, we were going on an external visit to see like something, you know, which they said was really essential. And I got in the car and we were driving up there, and about 45 minutes into the journey, I went, is this the flute music from breakfast? And the driver, who I don't even know spoke really great, burst into laughter. And it was only then that I saw that there was a cable running from the stereo to an iPod that belonged to, he'd recorded the music from breakfast and piped it into our car just as a practical. We signed the deal when we got back, because I went, that is the best thing. Like if Four Seasons applied their mentality to practical jokes, it would be one of the best practical jokes you'd ever had. We signed that afternoon.
Wow.
Because I was like, this is the most genius thing I've ever seen.
Okay.
So we just wanted to do it like that.
Okay. I get it now. That's
right.
That gives me a better indication, because I was a little bit concerned, because, you know, we have like your company probably, we have people who are creative. We have the creative guys, and then we have the guys that execute, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes usually they're good at one or the other, and not both. And I thought, wow, what is he looking for? I thought you were looking for, you know, some Cirque du Soleil performance, and then, wow, can we execute that? I mean, it's a great idea, but I don't know if we can, well, actually, I know we can't execute that. But if you're telling me it's just about, I guess the word has been overused, but it's the most accurate one, is this intuitive service, then yeah, you'll find some of that here. Yeah, we got the makings for that.
And we feel like you see it occasionally. I will admit we step outside the brand because we have to, with the budgets different or anything else, and others try to do it like Four Seasons. But the reason we do it here is it feels like that support, and it's become now a super hot buzzword within some of the companies that we're working and some of the programs we're developing, to build that sort of intrapreneurship. So they want all the benefits of, you know, confirmed working, this is your job, make sure you lock away your job, but also creative thinking outside the box to represent anywhere else in the business, because you might have a great idea. That feels hardwired into Four Seasons. Like we welcome your autonomy, we welcome your ability to move, to improve yourself in service of the client. That is something that whatever we're doing, we're constantly asking ourselves, how can we copy that, you know, that sort of workflow? Because I think you see it in terms of how people answer when they leave. I say, how was your trip? And they were like, we've never had anything like it. But that's, by definition, that's groundbreaking service. So we set that bar high because we'd experienced it every time we'd done business here, and nothing has changed. This is our 10th anniversary. We just had our 10th anniversary trip with all the team and their families, and nothing has changed in that time.
Okay, wow. So how do you keep that going? It's back to nurturing. How do you make sure that happens, or you recognize that special moment, or where someone took the initiative and really just delivered that wow experience, or guide as well, guide people along that path, and then let them finish it, or how do you do
I'm
that?
lucky. I have a really small team,
Okay.
right? So that's number one. So I'm lucky enough to have surrounded myself with people who, it's not that difficult, but are far more skillful than I am in their area of expertise. So it means I'm often saying to them, what would you do? How can we do this? Secondly, we have no interest in delivering what we've done before to make money. Now that either comes in terms of the ease of it. So we did this last year, let's do it again because a lot of the legwork is done and we'll make more money, or it will feel like we've made more money. And we're not interested in leaving budget on the table and saving 2, 3, 4, 5 grand, but not having fireworks or not having X, because and this is probably far more naive than it should be at my age, considering our areas of responsibility. Our business model is to do great work, leave it all on the table, really work hard in pursuit of excellence for that singular client's singular project, and then hopefully they'll have us back.
Wow, that's great. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus also everybody finds it interesting.
Yeah.
Right? If you've just asked everybody to only just do what had worked previously, I said it once with a client, we'd still commute on horses.
Yeah. You ever get people trying too hard, going out of their zone, missing a few basics or fundamentals, or skipping the craft for the technique because they're trying to wow you?
No, because we think like here. So for example, for this morning's meeting, to running through the schedule for this next week, you see it once. I think you make it clear that you're not really interested in doing it the way that others have done it, not like making crazy decisions, but allowing people to feel free in terms of, like this morning, our consistent question was, what have you done in the past that's been really good? What learnings can we take from that? How might we add in some of our skills or our experience into that mix? And what does it look like coming out the other end? It's not about bringing a fire and ice gala here and, just because they worked in Mauritius, Koh Samui, blah, blah. It's what would work here, what feels like it's a great fit for what you offer, and then how can we go a little bit beyond that, right? So that everybody, especially, we're very, very lucky to retain a large number of clients. They've been here before for a similar event. We don't want them leaving thinking we just phoned it in. Yeah. We just leveraged out how good the Four Seasons is in order not to go, what should we be doing next? Yeah. So I think, from our perspective, that's it's also I feel it very unnatural. Like I've no interest in doing something that doesn't require me to fight creatively to do something interesting. And then, as you said, we spoke earlier, the greatest party we've ever had was in here. Yes, we brought a DJ and a really amazing sound system from the UK. It cost us 9,000 euros in excess baggage because it weighed like 140 kilos. But it was only because the team worked through the mechanics of allowing us to stay later than you'd ever stayed, to still have the bar open, to have plastic glasses, even though you didn't have them at that time, around the pool, so that it didn't matter. There was no, everybody needed to bring their A game in service of that magic. But a decade later, having gone around the world and done hundreds of events, this is still the best party we've ever had.
Wow.
Right? Wow. So it's not about pushing things for the sake of it, but we feel like constantly asking questions of people and treating them with respect and showcasing that the client, us in the middle, and the hotel should be treated financially, logistically, and creatively as partners, not can I take something for my benefit and make someone else suffer? That's when the magic happens, because people like Joseph and all the rest of it, you see it, the light bulb goes on and he goes, just hold on a minute, hold my beer, I've got you. Right, like this morning. Chefs comes out, we wanted to have the screen in a certain place and the band in a certain place, so we had a dance floor. Luca comes out and there's Hussein there, and everyone's like, how can we make this work? So That's what we hope.
Yeah, good. I get it. Yeah, I like that, and then I'm going to let you ask questions because I think you do it in a way that is it's safe. When we have meeting planners come, and people have different techniques, as you say, and everybody wants to add value in the process. So, and people come through that in different ways, and sometimes they want to make sure that you're on your toes, and they try to get you at that point. But so far, in my experience, you and your team is more about making people feel safe by the way you interact with us and take a personal interest and joke with us and make us feel comfortable, at the same time challenging us. So we're not relaxing, and we were like, okay, we're with you, and we're gonna make you look good.
Yeah.
We're gonna make you look good. So I like that. Yeah.
We've always felt that's the best way.
Yeah.
We've never had a need for it to be combative, because I don't understand the expectation that will lead to something better. It's not better or worse. That's how we want to do it, because that's how we like to roll. And I think from our perspective, it makes us feel good. We usually leave with smiles on both client faces. The hotels look forward to having us come back. But it also, in the end, it's not an altruistic act. We feel the hotels, we always say to clients, can we squeeze the hotel more? Yes. But if you do that and we turn up and you've forgotten everything, I'm telling you now, that speaker system is going to be €3,000 plus. You want, like the singer we asked for today, the guys called up with us in situ, and I said, well, how much is the Four Seasons on top? They went, there won't be any charge. If you've pushed and pushed and pushed only to just retain a small amount of money to keep, then the hotel will do it in return, and understandably so. So we feel there's a great deal for everybody.
Yeah.
You just,
Yeah, a win-win.
Yeah.
A win-win-win. Yeah. Okay. I'll give you a chance to ask.
That's perfect. Okay. So
okay. That was great. We'll see you at dinner tonight.
Yeah. Okay, so, from my perspective, I think one of my favorite stories, and I think I've probably done what I usually do, which is embellish it slightly. Okay. But as I understand it, you were 16. I've made it sound like you're going to war, but you were 16, you lied on your application, you became a dishwasher in Hawaii. Yeah. Is this true? And if it's not exactly right, can I have the official final version so that I can then recount that ongoing?
It's mostly true, but in a different way. I was a dishwasher at 16, and I didn't lie, and I got the job. But a few years later, when I went to, I was doing my studying in St. Louis, and I went for a job as a waiter. And you had to be 21 to serve alcohol in Missouri, and I was 19. So I didn't lie. I didn't fill in that part of the application, and I told my boss, I want to tell you the truth. I'm not, so he says, well, you look like you're 25. So I said, can we leave it at that? And that's thank you for remembering that, but that's what happened. So I got the job as a waiter when I was 19. Yeah.
I mean, one of our favorite stories, or one of the hearing and asking questions of Four Seasons staff over the years, is to understand how there's not just a flexibility in movement, because you might go away from somewhere where you live and then bring skills back from a city resort or a completely different environment, but there's this proactive desire to move great talent throughout the organization. I mean, obviously, we want to talk to you a little bit about your next step, but for now, can you tell us a little bit about your journey within Four Seasons, how it started? Did you move from another chain? How did that work?
Yeah, I did work for a few other hotels along the way, notably Hilton International in Japan, and I also worked at an independent in Hawaii called the Halekulani before joining Four Seasons. But I joined Four Seasons next week will be 34 years. So I've been, most of my hotel journey has been with Four Seasons. And
what did you get for 3 decades?
I got this, no, I got a lot. I have to tell you, I got a lot. My family has gotten a lot, and it's been a good run.
You would have thought, considering how Four Seasons usually are with their customers, that if you've spent 3 decades of service in the organization, that someone definitely has your number.
Oh, it's Yeah, I think this opportunity that you spoke about for, getting to move to Bali in a few weeks, I think that's kind of reward and recognition, which I appreciate. I think it's something I'm really looking forward to. I feel a little bad, actually. I feel like I'm cheating because I'm here with Kuda Huraa, and at the same time I'm getting excited about going to Bali. And it's like, no, you got to stay here. And it's not that I want to leave, but like I said, I feel like it's cheating a little bit. I think I would expand upon that a little bit, and I think some of if you know our culture in Four Seasons and the players and the different guys like Uday, who is the GM there and who's leaving to move on after like 10 years there in Bali. And one of the most how can I say, enriching experiences I've had in the last month, although it's been, as I said, a little conflicting because I want to give everything I have and even finish strongly here. But in doing handover with Uday, it really speaks about our culture. I mean, I've known Uday for 30 years. I think we worked in Tokyo when we were pups, maybe. Well, he was a pup. Maybe I was an adolescent pup by then. But we've known each other a long time, and how he's handed over to me, we've probably had 6 or 8 calls of an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just so open and just so caring. And if bottom line is, here's my baby, Randy. You better take care of her. And it's so beautiful, and that's part of our culture. When you think about how many years and what positions you've been in and where you moved and who you worked with, it's all good and it all matters. But when you move within the group, within the Four Seasons family, and your brother is handing you over something like as precious as that is, there's a huge responsibility. So I feel like I'm honored to be the caretaker, and the way he talks about the people and the team there and the culture, and wow, I think after 8 or 10 sessions I can write a book now. But it's just because he was so open and so sharing and giving it in such a genuine way.
I think what's so interesting about that is it makes it sound to me, with a viewpoint on not just doing the event side of things, is that Four Seasons, as with many things, is ahead of the game there in terms of respecting a sense of shared, real, in-depth shared values, not focus quality, which they literally, someone just went, we need some, and we need them on the wall in the lobby, what have you got for me? And as a result, it's like completely counterintuitive to how things are in normal corporate life that we see. So when the air gets thin, everyone's gasping for breath, right? So once you get into a position where 9 are fighting for 3 and 3's fighting for 1, those 3, it becomes a question of the reduction of liability and exposure, and decisions are made out of fear of, am I going to be the one? I've never heard anyone in Four Seasons ever, and we get into the discussions once we pass client, we expect to a certain extent to be treated more like back of house than front of house, right? Because we feel that's where the value is. And no one gives away trade secrets, but I've never in a decade heard anyone speak ill of anybody else within the corporation. That is unheard of, right? But the way you've spoken about that experience is exactly our representation of the brand. Everyone feels like they're helping each other, or there's that great scene from the film Coach Carter right at the end where he talks about, I will not seek greatness by diminishing the light of others. Everybody comes up. And then if I'm good and stand above, it's righteous because I took everyone with me. Can you explain to me in terms of your question to me about how do you foster that? I asked the team this morning, I said, look, is Randy the nicest person on the earth? Because that's how it feels. If he is, it's going to be awful because that's just such a target. Or does he have a sense of steel? Because I can't imagine you can be a GM without. And they all looked at each other and went, both. So how do you do it from the perspective of wanting to be you, but also having the responsibilities? And in terms of that relationship with Uday, how did it work with him?
Yeah, I have to share something, and I think we also have we want to role model, but we also have role models ourselves. And again, within the company, whether it's, and I don't like talking about names because then inevitably you leave people out, but there are a couple of people I have to talk about. And one is Armando, who is the regional vice president, and he is running Landa. And he has established, Mr. Cranston. He has established the brand here in the Maldives, because he was here in Kuda Huraa for like 6 years, and he's in Landa for a dozen years now. And he started, one of the wonderful things that he started was this Apprentice Program, which you may have heard of, and it just ticks so many boxes. When I heard about the program, I thought, oh, that's nice. You know, we give back to the community. Basically what happens is every year we go through all these islands and recruit, and Armando still does it himself, very, very hands-on and very much having his finger on the pulse. And so now we're in 22 years, and we go through 300 to 500 17 to 20-year-olds, interview them, and then take the best ones, 30 for Kuda Huraa and 30 for Landa. And in a year, we take them through this program, and they understand. They come in as little kids, and they leave as young men and women, and really hoteliers and real professionals. But Armando started that, and it is still attached to it, and it's such a wonderful program. And what I realized too a couple of years into it was that it wasn't only giving back to the community. When we have these apprentices here with us for a year, everyone becomes a mentor, and that raises the game for everyone. Because if you're going to teach someone something, you better know it yourself, or you better know how to teach it. You better know more than he does. And so there's a sense of responsibility with that. And he has done so many wonderful things, and about establishing quality, about taking care of the people, about really blending our Four Seasons culture in with the Maldivian culture. That I have to talk about him. Yeah. So he's one of them. And then, if I may, I think what kind of defines, and I was thinking about, are you going to ask me this question? But I thought, what kind of defines my career? That's an interesting question. And I was thinking, you really get challenged during times of crisis. And in the last 3 properties where I have been GMs, we've had the crisis. We had the mini crisis, because back then we thought the world was going to end. But in 2002 and 2003 in Kuala Lumpur, we had SARS. Of course, that's the baby version of what we're just finishing up now, I hope. But that, there was 4 or 5 months we thought the world was going to end. And then you really had to, no playbook, right? So you had to kind of dig deep into what you were going to do. And then in our time in Cairo, we had not 1 but 2 revolutions. So that was really interesting to, again, digging deep and, trying to preserve the payroll, in other words, preserve the people's lives, and at the same time understanding that you're running a business and so forth and so on. So, and then again, this past pandemic, and one of the things that we learned, we have to inspire or lead our people, but we also get inspired by people like Armando and our area president, Rainer Stanford, who's based in Singapore and who hasn't been here for like 3 years because of the pandemic, but would speak to us, all of the GMs in the area, every 2 weeks, and he would always thank us. And when he thanked us, I felt he was only talking to me, and I felt like he had been here a few weeks ago. And that genuine sense of, we had to put up with a lot of stuff during that, as the world has. But, we had to put up with a lot. And just to hear someone empathize and like authentically connect with you and say thank you for what you're doing for us. We're not there, but we understand and we appreciate. And I thought, wow, where does that come from? How does he get that? That, I guess it's charisma. And you think then, okay, then you have, how can I say, you have the responsibility to kind of filter that down to your people too, who are putting up with it every day and making tough decisions, and all of this going through the pandemic. So I thought that was, as you said, it spoke volumes about our culture, about the Four Seasons culture, and how people get taken care of. You say, Four Seasons takes care of their people, but these are the things that define how they take care of the people. Yeah.
So taking that into account, I mean, obviously service throughout, luxury travel is not ubiquitous, but reasonably standard. In Four Seasons, we know what we're going to get. How would you define the uniqueness of the Maldivian experience? And what is your expectation from your discussions with as you prepare to move on about the differences and how you will make that? Obviously service is service, but that you'll welcome those differences and what that might mean to you in terms of how you GM.
And it's all about the team, and I'm very proud of the team. I love the team here, and it's gratifying because I know they're gonna do a great job with you, and that's the bottom line. It's not what you say, it's what you do, and more importantly, what you deliver. And they can do it, and I have utmost confidence in them, and I think it starts from our property. And I sometimes use this analogy, and I always say, "Have you met my wife?" And they go, "Yeah, of course we met your wife." And I said, "Well, isn't she beautiful?" And they said, "Yeah, she's a nice-looking lady." And I said, "How can an ugly guy like me get such a beautiful lady?" And I said, "Because I never gave up. I kept on trying, and I dug deep, and I, not only roses and chocolates, man, you got to get creative, you got to cook for her, you got to learn how to dance, you got to do all these things. And in that process, she feels how important in your life, how important she is, and she feels good about that." And I said, in Kuda Huraa, we don't have the newest hotel, we don't have the biggest hotel, so we got to try hard. And when we try hard in a professional way, people will appreciate that. And someone said, we were talking about what we call a glitch the other day, and someone said, well, I tried my best. And then I was going to say something, and somebody else jumped in, and they said, "That's not good enough." We said, "What do you mean?" "I tried my best." I said, "No, when you say I tried my best, that's like you gave up. I went this far, and I tried my best." We keep on trying our best. And even if, we don't solve all the problems, we don't make every guest happy, but we don't give up. We don't give up. We keep on going, and because we have to. Because there's newer properties, there's, people have nice and shiny, hardware and so forth. And in order to keep up, we gotta make something different. Yeah.
That's interesting you say that. My experience is, we had obviously, you've heard the Flute Ninja, that was his nickname. So I wrote him some cards, and I would always put to the Flute Ninja and then send him those cards. And there were two other individuals. Was it Michael before Uda? Was that right? I'm pretty sure was he GM there? I think the one before it was there when we went there. Guy called Michael.
Michael, yes.
Yeah. So he taught me something that again we use, and that is, he goes, "Listen, it's never about the problem, it's about the fix." And the fix, we talk about that all the time, repeated exactly as he sold it. We had a lovely dinner just on the sort of cliff tops above Sundara, and he had his team there and everything else. And he was talking, and I was just asking him, just as I am you, just not on camera, about that methodology. And he was like, "Listen, the minute you start to allow people to see that within reason that you're doing everything you can to fix the problem, the Wi-Fi is slow, here's a report after 10 minutes, here's after half an hour, here's after an hour, here's an offer to have a premium upgrade when it comes live from the business center." Now, the fact that they couldn't watch something, do something, email something, unless it's like part of their livelihood or it's critical, they don't care anymore. Because here's all of the things you're doing to fix that problem. And so that's one thing that we use called the fix. No one cares about the problem. What's the fix? Right? And and also the consistent communication. We're sorry it's still down. We're sorry. But and because you're genuinely trying to fix it, no one cares. The problem, and like I say, unless it's mission critical, goes away. And this now becomes, it's not better than not having had a problem, but it's yet another example of great service.
And the emotional investment.
Correct.
You cannot be detached. You have to own it, even as part of it.
And this was the other thing. There was a guy, he's now moved. He was the head of front office, and his name was Phil, massive basketball fan. He was 6'6".
Okay.
Right. And I was in the lobby, and without naming names or making any, there was someone who's being they weren't in our group, I'd like to point out, and it wasn't me or someone who works for me, but they were being, let's euphemistically say, highly unreasonable, loudly in the lobby, and he was fronting that because the lady who was dealing with it was tiny, and he came in, and again, super professional. Anyway, listen, behind the scenes afterwards, I was like, listen, and I use profanity all the time, I was just straight up to him and said, how do you deal with that? I literally, if I was your size, with hands your side, clench them in a fist and put that person in as a permanent feature in the lobby. And he's like, the way I look at it, because I've always been big, and a way I look at it tied in with the Four Seasons, is the biggest wins are where you're coming from the biggest distance. And I use that today into, we use it exactly, which is closing the delta. Here is the problem, here is why you're unhappy. So the journey to being vaguely happy or zero is already this distance. Now you fix it, you deal with them being unreasonable, you give them a spa package even though you hated doing it, and you made the distance all the way to exceptional from unhappy. He goes, that's the ultimate journey.
Wow, I like that.
And in every interaction, even if people are being unreasonable, within the boundaries of what is legally, morally, and humanly acceptable, everybody in this company will look to make that journey. And we were just like, wow, I had a huge amount of respect for that, because I lose my professionalism when I see that. And I've called people out who've been on our trips, and I'm like, listen, you pay the bills, but you don't have that much money. If we see that again, we're going to have problems, because I don't work for you in that regard. There is a line, and it's not okay. It's not okay. To park that and have to deal with that, and then to have the drive and the professionalism and the kind of, that sense of, strength. I look at that, and those two things from that Bali. He goes, if you're making the biggest journey, it feels like the biggest win. So we definitely feel that. I mean, from your perspective.
Can I tell you one?
Go for it.
Because I was reminded of this. We had a couple. I'm American, so I can say this maybe. I have license to say this. We had a couple from New York, and they came and they were not happy, and they were in our face for the first couple days. Not all day, but numerous times, and we thought, wow, what are we going to do? But we tried, and the team. This is why I'm so proud of the team. They never gave up, and they were not even hiding. They went and they took it and they listened to what she was really saying or what he was really saying, and by the end of a week, we saw them melting. Maybe 4 or 5 days, and at the end of the week, they said, "We're going to extend another week." And normally. Wow. Even within Four Seasons, normally when people go, oh, like, that's too bad. But no, the people loved it. And seriously, no backroom talks or anything. And so then they really, because they knew they needed something, and they're beginning to melt. So let's go for it. And at the end of the second week, Mrs. X said, we're going to extend another week. And I don't know, maybe they weren't allowed to let their guard down in their real lives or whatever, but they tasted this new experience. So at the end of the third week, she's coming to me, and I go, Mrs. X, go home. And she goes, I was going to ask you for another week. I said, I know you were. Go home and come back. And she starts crying, and she says, that's why I love you guys, because you're not just after my money. So she left the next day, and I got the report that she cried the 25 minutes from here to the airport. So, but it was like the team. It was like, no, we're gonna win her. We're gonna win them, and they did. Yeah.
But I mean that for me is, I think also it must be quite difficult, because I think with cost and price and a sense of value and worth versus the dollar amount, if you're rich or you're a guy making large generalizations, if you're in finance or whatever and you can afford it, not that your expectations are lessened, but it doesn't become an issue. For many others, if you're charging X amount for a room and it's so much more than the hotel down the road that says it's 5-star but isn't the same, the bar is set high for you and the team because of that. And that you've always, it comes back to that. And I think the interactions and the level of service that we have, for us, people are wowed by, if they were coming here personally, how much it would be, and we've used the power of the group to make it happen. But it's, again, we always talk about it, is that the service disappears, sorry, the pricing disappears, and the service just becomes a discussion about the incredible value and the worth of the experience, because this entire property is revolving around making that as good as it can be. And it's also, it's interesting, I've only ever seen the behind the scenes tour here, and we'd had a discussion about it, like, if anyone ever made a complaint, ever, like before you're allowed on a Four Seasons like property, you should be forced to see the behind the scenes tour before you can come to the lobby. So if you complain about this bread is too warm, not warm enough, this napkin was folded incorrectly, it's like, if you saw, like I noticed today, the fresh pastries that were in the reception area, and I looked at the custard tart and I thought, just, I'm desperately trying to lose weight, I'm not going to have it. But my mind instantly went to,
how long has that been there?
No, because I could see that it was super fresh, and I thought, not many people are going to come here and have this, but this is getting replaced every 10 to 15 minutes to ensure whenever you arrive, for one that probably won't get eaten, it's still one of the best pastries you've ever eaten. The flour's got to get here, it's got to be kept cool, they've got to replace it, it's got to be on time, and this is not a high moment area for this. That is what we try to absorb. Like, it's the details in areas that aren't just the standard ones. How do you ensure, when there's so much, we were talking today about the repair of the roofs and how often does that happen, how do you ensure that that kind of attention to detail can be spread so far across the resort, whilst also ensuring that all of the core tenets are delivered?
That's the challenge, right? Yeah, we empower our people, but we also check. So it's not blind delegation. I mean, we also check. We also, do what's important for us. We also focus on those areas. For me, food is important, so I'm testing and eating and talking and there. I also like food, but I also think that's what's important for us too. So we focus on, try to focus on everything. We try to give people the understanding that the craft is very important. It's not just being nice. Yeah, there's a lot of nice people in the Maldives, but craft, you have to get the technical part very, very correct. And we have a lot of that infrastructure set up too. But again, by personal, they'll say, like, if the GM works out every morning, your gym's going to be good. If the GM likes wine, you're going to have a great wine list. If the GM likes, so it's kind of true too. So where you put your focus is what people also
The gym
follow.
here is excellent. It's really good. Yeah, so that speaks well. That speaks well of what you. I mean, also, in terms of kind of, it must be difficult considering obviously you've been here almost 9 years, 8 years, 8 years, right? If you had to, as a guidance for what we might film for what we call B-roll, but what are your favourite elements of the island, whether it's breakfast or a location or sunrise or sunset? And it's impossible, but if you had to distill it down to 3, because we can't film everything, what would be your top 3?
Yeah. Again, it comes to personal choices, because that's what I do and what I like. And about 3 years ago, we've been here 8 years, but I think after 1 or 2 years, my wife started to do morning walks at sunrise. So we go for 40, 45-minute walks. And about 3 years ago, she would ask me to join her periodically, but then 3 years ago, I started to join her. And it's the most beautiful time. It's the beginning of the day. I'm an introvert, so that's when I get most of my energy. But it's beautiful.
What time would you go?
We go between 6:30 and 6:40, because we don't want to walk in the dark too much, and you start getting first light about that time. And we walk out to the island where you're going to be.
We did it. I did it this morning with Lise. We did exactly 5K is 1, 2, 3, 4, and back a little bit.
Yeah. You can do just about 3 miles. Anyway, we do that. That's wonderful. You can see a lot of marine life on the jetty as you go out. One of our favorite animals is an octopus that we Did they show you?
Yeah, he showed us. It took me
Yeah.
20 seconds to see it.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did you see that?
They're the smartest creatures. I used to think the dolphins were. I think they're the. If you watch that.
My octopus teacher.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
it's taken calamari off the menu for our family.
Exactly. you won't think like Randy's been on that island too long. He's talking to the octopus now. But that's one of the things. I think snorkeling right here, right behind here, where we have propagated the coral frames. We've also
This
dredged
side?
a little bit right here.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best places to at least start. You can go on excursions and see more turtles or sharks and so forth, but there's quite a bit of marine life right out here. And for snorkeling, and even if maybe you don't have time to go catch a boat, you can just go right out here, and that's really, really nice. Sunset at the Sunset Lounge, include the crab race, because that's the highlight of the day. People get excited, little guys and big guys all turn into kids, and then the sunset there is just wonderful. And then, sorry, number 4, but the island spa, because that 90-second journey is transitional, right? You feel like you're going to another world, and we have a great spa, because spas, I believe, and we renovated ours about 2 years ago, but it's not about marble or waterfalls or lighting. It's about hands and connecting and rejuvenating, and I think you can get all of that there. So, yeah, the spa experience is real.
I'm not sure if she'll be unhappy if I tell you, but I feel like you and I are having a very honest and open discussion. Yeah. Lise came here with me, whenever it was, 2 or 3 years ago. And she went, and she obviously used to be one of the head trainers for Aveda. So she helped open their store at Harrods, and Harvey Nicks helped them open the store at their concept store in Covent Garden. So she would go to America, learn the treatments, and be part of the team that would then teach everybody else. She is super, super particular about massage. She is, caveat, the best massage therapist I've ever had, but it means that when she goes to the spa, comes back, even at Four Seasons, and if it's not really great, I'll say, how was that? And she'll be like, it's like, it's not bad, it was really good, but she'll notice, that magic moment at the end of a massage where you can't tell whether the person's touching you anymore. So they just, they float their hand off and you go, are we still having a massage? Right? So it's that attention to detail.
Okay.
And she went here, and this is no word of a lie, and she came out and she had burst into tears.
Oh, wow.
And she's not, she's emotional, but as anyone is, but that's not the normal MO for her. And she was like, where it was, what the view was, how the therapist was, the prep, everything. She felt, and here she is just off camera. She burst into tears, and that was really, as I said, that's a testament to.
Wow, that is. I have to share that.
Right, exactly the experience that you spoke of, right? Is that attention to detail of what are we doing here, right? We have spoken for quite some time. I know that you have other responsibility. I'd like to just ask you 2 final questions.
Sure.
If taking it, the Four Seasons methodology, as you've moved through, taking all of the positives in terms of what you've learned from others, the inspiration from people like Armando, who I met when we went to Landa, and I loved. He's got that whole kind of David Carradine kung fu vibe going on. Like, you're like, wow, how can you have access to all the food and still look this good, right? And taking all that into account, if you were giving like a TED talk for people about inspirational leadership that still had the steel to make difficult decisions, I'm not talking about hiring and firing people, but pandemic response, difficult decisions. What are we going to do? Are we going to spend money on solar power or the new water treatment? Our owners say it can be one or the other. So you have the realism of corporate command, but without ever allowing that to determine that your humanity, your civility to others, your desire to treat people, not necessarily as friends, but in a friendly fashion for the benefit of that relationship, but also the success of the company. What would you say were the key tenets? What would you say to that audience in the 20 minutes that you had? And secondly, in terms of your movement to Bali, what are you most kind of excited about in terms of not better or worse, but in terms of the new challenge? And how do you feel the lessons that you've learned in the first part of the question that you would share have prepared you to make a success of that journey?
Wow. Both very good questions. I'm inclined to answer the second one first, if I might. Maybe it'll dovetail into the first one. But very excited about going to Bali. I think as a leader, you need to also, you cannot fake the inspiration. You have to be inspired by something yourself in order to you have to be enriched in order to enrich others. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity there, because there's so much there with people, their culture. There's so much levels
right in the middle of the.
So many levels right there. So, I'm looking forward to that. It's not like, oh, you're a long-time Four Seasons guy. Yeah, well, that's what it says. But I'm like a kid again. I wanna soak it in, and I wanna learn about their culture and their foods and their traditions, like your tradition. And I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, again, if I can share some things. Not to overuse the word enrich, but enrich their lives too, then I'm looking forward to that. And I think it's about, it's always been about people, and it's about the team, and I continuously study about people and what, both in books and in observation and in experience, and just finding out, being more aware of myself and other people, and seeing how I can help them achieve more, how I can help them feel better, how can like what you're doing, about making people relaxed in a fun way, kind of bantering and kind of checking at the same time, and making people feel connected and important, and then challenging them too. And then, because after you get to know your audience, then who can handle a little bit more, and maybe he or she's not quite ready for that. So, I don't like to say it, but I guess it's the good example of playing the orchestra, because there'll be some, the first violin is like, they can go a long way, they can play solo and so forth, and the last chair in the third section maybe not, and so you want to, encourage that person and challenge that one, and you need the drummer to kind of like cool your jets, man, like play a little softer. You're not the main thing, not right now. Maybe in the, what is it, Beethoven's whatever, where they play the drums. Anyway, so that's kind of what we have here. But it's been a wonderful. I was looking forward to this chat, because I just feel so privileged and honored to have been part of Kuda Huraa for the last 8 years. And it's been a wonderful ride, and it's been good, and business is great. Right now, business is great, thank you. The last 7 months have been like booming. We had a very good year last year. The first 3 months is the best. So to leave on a high too is also nice. And yeah, that's good. And then Bali is, they've been closed for 2 years, and they've had a wonderful reputation before that. So they're used to success, and they need to ramp up, and that's going to be exciting too, to be a part of that. So there's it's exciting, it's invigorating, it's energizing, and my wife is so happy, I have to tell you, because I didn't realize, when this opportunity came up. She's always so supportive, so it's like, whatever you want, Randy, I'm there, and she really is. So when it came up, I kind of like, oh, this Uday is moving. Oh, and I said, what do you think about Bali? She says, I don't know. What do you think? Might be good. And I thought, what? Did she say might be good? That means, yes, let's go to Bali. So I thought, oh, you want to go? She said, I don't mind going. And I go, okay, let's go. And then we get the process starting. But what is so beautiful is that she's so happy, and she never complains. And I thought, like, well, we should have done this 3 or 4 years ago, because we've been here 8 years. But maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to her. So yeah, not that guilty, but I mean, it's just, she's just so happy, and it's a bigger community. There's 4 million people there versus 400 here, and all of the community and the culture and all of what it has to offer there. So,
can I ask you one last question?
Yes, please.
You mentioned before that you feel like you're an introvert. How have you married that, or learnt to lead from that position?
Yeah.
And how has your wife been a part of that in terms of supporting you if you ever doubted yourself, especially considering, as you said, some of the things you've had to go through?
Yeah, I'm a proud introvert. I'm very happy about that.
Yes, the same for me.
I've learned to. I actually enjoy the interaction, and I enjoy speaking, and I enjoy the spotlight. I just need to recharge. You know, if my tank is almost empty, then I know that I need to, like, not necessarily get rest, but I need to spend time by myself to just kind of recharge. And I think that's the biggest thing. I'm an introvert, but I also enjoy being the boss. Yeah. So that's part of the makeup or whatever. But
Work-life balance. That's what that sounds like, right? So
yeah. But if I may, one of the things that I get out of the morning walk is talking to my wife about work, because we live on this small island, and you can say, well, you see her all day, but I don't. I'm doing things. And for a long time in my career and in my marriage, I never talked about work with her, because it's the old school where it's like, you don't work. Yes, you do. You don't. There's home and there's work, and you don't bring it home. And 3 years ago, I started to talk to her, and I talked to her about my complaints. I talked to her about my problems. I talked to her about challenges. I thought, wow, why didn't I do this earlier?
Free therapy.
Yes. She not only is a good listener, she has like good advice. So I thought, wow, this is
because it's one step removed, right?
Yeah,
so
therapeutic.
There's a sense of objectivity that you don't have.
Yeah, and she's that's the beauty. I tell people, they say, who's the best manager you work with? I said, my wife. They said, really? I said, yeah, because she's smarter than me, but she lets me think I'm smarter than her. So she's a wonderful partner, and that morning walk, besides, not gaining too much weight because I'm moving a little bit more, just the spending time together. The nature part is so rich already, but the interaction and the communication has been better.
It's interesting from that regard. Do you know a guy called Tim Ferriss?
Heard of him.
So he's a business guru. He wrote The 4-Hour Work Week.
Okay.
Right, he has a really famous podcast.
Yeah.
He usually has people from business, from technology, but biomedics. What will allow me to not only live longer, but what will allow me to be super efficient, right? So he's Ryan Holiday, people who are Stoics, Brené Brown, Esther Perel, so both from a sexual point of view, from a marriage point of view, and he just did a great podcast only just a few weeks ago with Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
Really, and it's a great podcast. Hugh listens to the podcast, so there was obviously a great connection between the two of them.
Okay.
But it was interesting. He asked, "What's your morning routine?"
Yeah.
And he said, "I read with my wife in the morning. So no matter how busy I am," and he learnt it from Patrick Stewart when they were doing the X-Men movies.
Okay.
Because Patrick Stewart had turned 60 and said, "I have a list of books that I want to read, and without being morbid, I'm running out of time. So no matter what, I will read for half an hour in the morning, and if it's the weekend, I will read for an hour. No scripts, no emails, no newspapers. I will read a book, because that is my commitment to getting out." And Hugh's absorption of that was to read for half an hour, but he and his wife, without fail, read together.
Wow.
And then they will meditate together.
Okay.
Because what's interesting is that you feel better about yourself that you haven't allowed work to get in of the quality time that you promised would come later. And never comes later, because once the phone fires up and people fire up and this isn't working and can you fix this and I need this and you can forget it. Then I think residually inside, you keep some of that guilt that you didn't make that time, and it impacts on other areas, not only of business, of personal, and that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you realize that some months have gone by. And the more I speak to people in this regard, the more people have a similar journey to you, where you're like, I can still do all of that work. I can still be all of the leader I need to be and make critical decisions. This really is the most important part of my day. And as you said, out of that comes a sensibility that, here's another whole new layer or a whole new avenue for a relationship that, it might happen.
I have to listen to that podcast.
It's really great.
Yeah, I like him. I like Hugh Jackson.
And he comes across so well.
Yeah.
Obviously I like him as a nerd, so I like him as Wolverine, and we watched The Greatest Showman like 100 times.
Oh, yeah.
But he just comes across
I like him.
really, really well.
I'm a fan. Yeah.
I would love to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have confirmed my, belief that you quite possibly might be the most delightful person I've ever met, who I didn't marry. So I'd just really like to say thank you to you.
No, thank you.
Thank you to Joseph and Hussein and everybody else that has made all of our trips here so special, both for us and for our clients. And I wish you all the very best in Bali.
Thank you.
I 100% will be tapping you up for an extended site visit. That's
right.
like the New York couple.
No.
Extension
Look
1 week,
forward to
1 week, 1 week. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, and thank you for the lessons. Really, it was good. Good learning
it is
for me.
at worst
Yeah.
two-way.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You got any more light? No.
Did we get that?
Yeah, not bad.
20 minutes, right?